Welcome back to the Fantasy Waiver Wire. Here with me, this your boy Tubby. Here with me, as always, is Lee, and we are back for Week 14. Week 14, the week before the playoffs. Things are getting crazy in our league. I can tell you that much. Down to the wire. This is probably the most competitive year you had in this league, and if you don't know, Fantasy Waiver Wire, me and Lee, we talk about our fantasy football league that we're in, and the journey throughout the season, the ups and downs, and try to help you pick somebody off the waiver wire, and so that next week can be better for you. And as you see us struggling through it, just like you, man. But Week 14, what's going on, Lee?
Well, yeah, I mean, Week 14, last chance to get in the playoffs. I had a shot with a win this week, would have got me in, and it didn't happen. Just a couple of devastating results on my end. I don't even know if well, first of all, Justin Herbert let me down. Well, Justin Herbert didn't let me down. Quentin Johnston let me down. Guys dropping everything. And, they show right now making the waves on TikTok is how Keenan Allen's his only good wide receiver. No one, with Williams down, no one is picking up the slack for Herbert. And nobody is blaming Herbert for their abysmal offensive output. I had a feeling going into New England, because Herbert really doesn't play outdoors extremely well. But he still threw a lot of good balls. It just didn't go my way. I ended up with 15 points on a projected 33. That sucked. And, of course, the big one for my team was Tank Dell going out with a season-ending injury, which is devastating for the kid. So I was unhappy about that. No points for Tank Dell, but more important is his career and his longevity. So I'm not going to whine about that for certain. And I had a decent lineup. Ayuk got me 15 and McCaffrey 22, unfortunately, against the Eagles. And Laporta with a massive 29. But the problem is that those two, the goose egg and then Herbert really putting up nothing, didn't help me at all against Gustavo's rad team. So I fell to 7-6, down to third place, and Gustavo's moved into second. If you look at our standings, I need to win to make sure of that, to be honest with you. But I do have a lot. I think I have the most points scored, or at least one of the most in the standings. So I'm hoping that if everything works out all right, that I, even if I lose, I've got a shot at making it. I don't want to be like the 6th seed if I ended up dropping. But yeah, if you look at that, I got 1,900 points. No one comes close. So you'd have to really outscore me. If somebody that's down there in that 6 and 7 like yourself or an outcast, and they will get up to 7-7. I dropped to 7-7. I still got a really good shot of getting in just because of my points for the tiebreaker. So, but that's not how I want to be. I want to get into one of those top 3 seeds to get, just a better chance at it. I'd love to have a bye. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. Points. I mean, crazy season. You see our second in points. Well, that's points against. So you can see what type of year he's had. And I think what you've survived is the most points against as well, too.
Isn't that crazy?
So you definitely had a crazy uphill battle this year. Yeah, man, I'm sitting right there in 6th place myself. I'll recap what happened with me this weekend, playing against my brother. And I thought I was up against it, especially after Thursday night when you have Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, combined for 82 points. I mean, that you're just like, damn.
What happened to the rest of his team, dude?
But when a hero comes along, I mean, Marquise Brown just had the worst day ever, had a heel injury and just didn't really play well through it. I think he left. He only had about 3 targets. I couldn't believe that. I was watching this New Orleans and Detroit game, and Gibbs was getting burned. He just they had Montgomery in the times that I needed him in personally.
Yeah.
So that helped me out. Eckler, I just could not believe what's going on. 18 yards. I mean, I couldn't have called that, man. 18 yards from Eckler, 2 catches. Just unbelievably lucky there. We picked up Juwan Johnson because he had Dalton Kincaid bye week. So I got some luck there. And then we picked up Zach Moss, who, man, in hindsight, it would have been crazy because I would have had him. He still would have scored more than Singletary. But really do. I thought he was going to crush Tennessee.
Yeah, it didn't
Had a
happen.
good year when he's been backing up Taylor. So yeah, man. And then Frisco, albeit they put up a lot of points on offense, their defense still only got 10 points from that. And I thought, they were going to get way more, but the Eagles didn't turn the ball over. So
it's hard to
games.
It's hard to score as a defense when your offense is on the field for 75% of the game. I mean, it's freaking crazy.
Yeah, but they didn't commit a turnover.
Yeah.
So that helped me out there, just only getting 10. Miami's been doing well for me, man. He touchdown in back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
Woo.
I have him in my other league, and I would never part with him. I thought having Pittsburgh was going to help me a little bit. I'd been floating on my defenses, but they got absolutely swamped by Arizona. It was one of those weeks, like with Arizona and New England, when we're trying to predict, pickups, we're trying to predict matchups, and you can't predict an Arizona team going and smacking Pittsburgh in the mouth, or New England, who was very desperate. 2 wins on the season. Granted, their offense is going nowhere, but that defense showed like they really wanted a win badly, just to save some from themselves from humiliation. Unfortunately, they lose 6-0, which is almost worse for them. It's probably one of the worst crushing losses for them this year because they played really well defensively against the Chargers. It's just that it doesn't matter if they got Zappy or Jones. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Then they lose Stevenson. He goes out.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that too, as far as waiver wire. A lot of injuries this week. A lot of shifts. Like I said, man, every week counts, and there's always somebody out there on that waiver wire that you can pick up. Man, one of my craziest performances this week was DK Metcalf scoring 3 touchdowns against Dallas. I just could not. I could believe it a little bit because last week I thought, San Fran I mentioned it on here. San Fran played good defense, but DK had a couple tries to get open. He could have had a big game against even the Niners. They just, ball a little bit underthrown here, or maybe not, good defensive play there. But then Nico Collins benefited from the Tank Dell injury.
Oh, definitely.
So I just couldn't imagine. So this made up for the CD Lamb. If you'd have told me after what CD Lamb did that I would have 2 wide receivers that would do better.
That's crazy.
Ain't no way. There is just absolutely no way. And then Deebo Samuels has a 3 touchdowns. So 3 was the theme.
3 was the theme. You got DK getting ready to play the Eagles in a couple weeks too. So
yeah.
That'd be right. If you make the playoffs, that could come in real handy.
Yeah.
Because right now the Eagles defense in the middle, I looked at the stat line for Morrow at linebacker, and he gave up over 8 receptions. I think it was 8 or 9 receptions for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's almost that's half of their passing yards, and 2 of the 6 touchdowns that were given up were on Morrow, the middle linebacker, and that's just unacceptable. Now the Eagles did sign Shaq Leonard yesterday. And hopefully he's in some sort of game shape. But it doesn't even matter because, like I texted you when it happened, I said, even a bad Shaq Leonard or Darius Leonard, whatever you want to call him, he goes by Shaq now, is better than Morrow out there for the Eagles. So hopefully when we play the Seahawks, DK doesn't just completely destroy the middle of the field. But we'll see how things go coming up. This week against the Cowboys, no matter win or lose, will be very telling as how the Eagles do go forward. Because I saw an interesting stat, and this is, again, tied to fantasy, and I know we talk a lot of Eagles, but it's also tied to fantasy as far as playing against the Eagles and counting on a big day. The Eagles started off the season with the first 7 games with the number 1 run defense and the 17th pass defense. Over the last 5 games, They have the 27th run defense and the 29th pass defense and the worst defense overall for a 10-2 team over the last 5 games, which is the Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, and so on, and the Washington game before that. That sucks.
The Eagles, the Eagles is one of the very few teams that you'll see out here. Well, ones that I pay attention to, that the coaching staff is so lucky to have so many veterans on the team and just natural leaders that they kind of fall by the way. They overcome poor coaching.
Yeah.
I'll just the best I can say is that, walking into an environment with Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson, Kelsey on the line, and just a very mature young quarterback. Most of the time you have a young quarterback, but he could be immature, but you have a young, mature quarterback. Like, nobody's checking the headlines for Hurts partying somewhere in Vegas or something. You're not even worrying about that.
No.
So you really walk into a situation where you may not have to coach as much, getting your team ready and scheming and stuff like that, man. So, yeah, man, I think last night was just a time where that talent and that leadership couldn't overcome just the very, very, very poor management of the defense, man. In general, and to me, that's even with the tackling and all of that. That's a culture, that you have. Tackling is a culture. I talked about it last week off air. Remember, I went on the rant about when you have certain teams. You have players on that team that just play hard, fly around to the ball. You see the Niners, they were flying around to the ball. That's a culture, whether it was Wilkes this season, Robert Saleh, or D'Amico Ryans, those last 3 coordinators they have. It's a culture that has been built. And even with the offense, man, and what makes our defense look so bad, most of their yards came off a yak.
Yeah.
Yards after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're making very simple. Brock Purdy had a negative 5-yard play go for a touchdown.
Yep.
I can't name one player on the Eagles that can turn a negative 5-yard play into a touchdown.
Not at this point right now. Yeah.
Yeah. It just. So, yeah, a lot of yards after the carry, man, because we're not tackling. I just thought it was crazy that's what I was ranting about. As soon as we got off, I didn't do it on air, but as soon as we got off, that was the gist of everything. How soft. So we have no dogs. Nobody's hitting, blah, 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 blah. Now, Slay, Bradbury, I don't even think he was even targeted, crazy enough.
Bradbury's stat line was very low. They stayed away from Bradbury for some weird reason, considering all the talk that Debo did about Bradbury. And Slay did very well. The problem came where most of the completions were Byard, got, covered, playing safety or coming down, got blown out a couple of times, and then Morrow and Ellis were just god awful. And so when you're throwing to the back out of the backfield, or you're throwing to Kittle like they did, they really manhandled us with their tight end. And Debo had a good day playing, partially playing running back, and there were bad calls. I mean, there were missed calls. There was, they allowed a lot of really holding on their defense on AJ Brown in the end zone twice, not called, but I've said before, the Eagles aren't, and the Eagles fans aren't the type to talk about the refs. Some do, but for the most part, we will talk about the team's deficiencies. And it was, like you said, Seth Joyner went off on social media this week about the lack of the desire to hit on the Eagles defense, except for, he said, the front 4, Hassan Reddick and Reed Blankenship. Yeah. Outside of that, the rest of them should be ashamed at the how soft they are as far as wanting to hit. And that includes Sidney Brown and some of the other, people we bring in and out to play that slot corner position, playing really soft. So, I think that we could go on and on about it. I think that we kept the wrong players. I like Bradbury, I like Slay, but we could have gotten serviceable corners. We shouldn't have gotten rid of TJ Edwards, Kazir White, and CD Deuce. Those 3 guys were dogs, and they helped us get to a Super Bowl last year. And I would have missed Slay and Bradbury had we left them, but I think that it's hurt us more to give up the middle of the field than having a halfway serviceable corners on the side. That's just my opinion. But
yeah, man. Edwards was a tough one because Eagles tried to pay him more. He still left, because he wanted to play for Chicago. Like, that was a want for him. Which was still crazy. Like, you just go to the Super Bowl, but that's on him. But Kaiser, we could have re-signed Kaiser White.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Our middle is just open. Look, they do the same thing to the Eagles pretty much all season, right? They'll throw the ball in the middle of our field, throw it, and then when they get inside the 5, they'll throw that Reed Blankenship because he can't cover anybody down there, and he gave the first touchdown of the game. You'll because they always look like they never know where they're at. Yeah, man, and he has the will to our whole back line, everybody in the secondary. Slade did okay with the tackling.
Yeah,
but Sidney Brown, it's just hard to count his reps because we don't even know when he's in.
Yeah.
But we know when it comes to safety help that our guys just aren't really tackling well, man. Especially Morrow. A lot of it came on him because of the yak, especially the play on Depot when you go really high and Depot just kind of shrugs you off and just goes, and then there's a holding call potentially down the field on Blankenship. Nobody calls that. I think when you watch the Dallas game and you saw all the calls that Dallas got, I think we were expecting when the AJ jersey pull, oh, that's a penalty. Nope.
Oh, yeah.
Or with Quez, it easily gets pass interference on Quez. If that's Dallas, if that's CD Lamb, that's an easy penalty.
Yeah. Not looking back at the ball, both hands in the chest.
Both hands on him.
And then once he puts the hands on him, then he turns around and looks. Yeah. The one you're talking about with Reed Blankenship, not only did George Kittle had a hold of Reed, he had a hold of a linebacker as well. He had his hands on 2 dudes holding both jerseys. But, again.
Yeah.
Besides all that, you can't give up 6 straight touchdowns.
Right.
So there's things that we're going to have to work on. Yeah. But, like I say, looking at the playoffs where it pertains to fantasy, what I would do is if you're looking at the Eagles, they're downtrending on the defense. And they've got Dallas this week. So if you've got Dallas players, and we said it last week, if you had 49er players, you're probably going to do well. You got Dallas players this week, you're probably going to do well. But then setting up for the playoffs, I'm not going to say it here. I hope none of the people in our league are looking at. I'm considering picking up some third string Seattle receiver in hopes that he might get some playing time because you don't know. You don't know. You can't think it's going to be all Lockett and DK. So we have to see.
Six straight touchdowns is just unacceptable on any level.
Yeah,
it was just reminding of the Super Bowl, man. I was a little worried when we went down there the first 2 drives and we didn't get touchdowns. I was like, man, we need to get touchdowns out of that. But they're playing well, and then they just never got off the field after that. The tackling was horrendous, man.
For sure,
from everybody, man. Just like I said, Bradbury wasn't targeted. But here's my thing. Where are the adjustments at?
No, none.
If you know they are destroying if you can go a whole game where Bradbury doesn't even receive a catch, a target, he wasn't even targeted.
Right.
Like his stat line was just, I think he missed a tackle.
Yeah.
And that was just really his stat line, like a missed tackle and no targets. But yeah, man, he just bad. What can you say about 6 touchdowns straight, giving up at home? But we knew it all year. We talked about it all year.
We knew it was going to bite us eventually. Yeah,
all year that it was going to eventually happen. The Eagles 2 problems in that game. One, they couldn't establish the run at all.
Didn't even try.
In our 2 losses,
6 carries to Swift.
Right.
That's
in our 2 losses, it looks exactly the same. Yeah. I think we had like 23 carry total in our 2 losses.
Yeah,
and it's like real pass heavy. So and that's why people are on the offensive coordinator and whatnot. But I don't think we have anybody on the staff that can run the offense. If you had Sirianni, mind you, our offense didn't get good last year until Sirianni gave up the calling duties.
Oh, yeah.
You have to remember that.
Yeah.
So bringing in Shane Steichen and him calling the plays, that was the difference last year. Sirianni isn't doing anything right now, to be fair and to be honest. He isn't calling the plays. He isn't calling the offense. He isn't calling the defense.
Yep.
He's just running around making faces and pumping his chest up at the crowd like he's a mascot. Sirianni is ultimately responsible for what happened on Sunday. Nick Sirianni is. At the end of the day, he does the hiring. Those are his coaches. That's his staff. He has to make those adjustments, and it's on him.
Yeah. Well, the thing is both Sean Desai and Brian Johnson are first-year coaches. Mm-hmm. We don't really shouldn't have relied on first-year offensive and defensive coordinators coming off of the Super Bowl. And I appreciate what they could do and what they could be, but now was not the time to try that experiment. And you think about it, where we've struggled in the red zone. If the Eagles walk away with 2 touchdowns instead of 2 field goals, the score is 42-34 at least, because they went for a 2-point conversion. So even it'd be 42-35 going into that, the last 5 to 6 minutes, which is similar to the Bills game where they came away with the win. In this case, they had no chance whatsoever. So yeah, we'll see what they do against Dallas.
Yeah.
We're down, and the thing is, Dallas, you got to get up, or if you can't get up for Dallas week, then you really do have problems offensively and defensively. We'll see if they work really hard this week to come away. Of course, Dallas is on a 10-day rest, just like San Francisco was. The Eagles had played 3 games in 16 days, and the 49ers were playing their first game in 10 days. So tell me that the schedule isn't biased a little bit. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at these standings, I tell you what, the matchups correlate really well for this coming week with the standings, which is insane. Because I have to play your brother in Marine Raiders. I have to play him, and he's in 5th. I'm in 3rd. He's trying to solidify. We're both 7 and 6, trying to solidify a spot. That's intense because I definitely want to stay there. He doesn't want to drop and end up down in the no man's land because he's got 1806. It very realistically, if you win and he loses, he could be out and you could be in because you're right.
I just need to win.
Pretty much.
I just need to win because here's
you're right there.
You guys are in Marine Raider. I mean, unless something crazy happened, even if he loses, he should still be in. When I was doing the numbers, because I still need to win. If you look at anybody underneath, they all need wins. Like, which my brother, he may just need points to keep him above. Like, let's say everybody under him wins, right? Let's say I win, Outcast, and A will win.
Yeah.
Puts him at 7-7. Let's say he does lose, but he's still
got a lot of points.
Where he's only 5 points more than me, which is good for me.
Yeah.
But Outcast, he has Outcast by 120.
Yeah.
He has A will by 200 and something. So even if he loses, you guys are good here. Like for the most part, especially you, even if you lose, I think the worst you can do is 6 seeds.
Yeah.
So you guys are in. The final spot is for this final spot.
Yeah.
It's all about this one, man. I'm fighting for my life here. So when you say they match up well, look, I have me and Mello. Right? And when I play, who do I play this week? Mello.
Yeah.
We are literally playing to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I need to win. I mean, unless Outcast somehow loses to Chirac, which is not out of the question because Chirac is number 1 seed, puts together a good squad, but he's lost back-to-back weeks. I think. He's lost last week.
Yeah, it was
looking. So I would need Outcast to lose.
Yep.
A will to lose. But here's the thing. And then if somehow Mel beats me, Mel losing last week helped me because if somehow Mel beats me, I may still get in on points. But here's the thing. Mel can't beat me by more than 24 points. You see how it gets crazy?
So Mel has to hope that you, Outcast, and A will all lose.
But he has to beat me. Well, but Mel needs to win anyway. I think that's my point. So he has to win regardless.
He has to win, but he has to. All three of you have to lose and be 6 and 8, so that he can get up to 6 and 8. It's man, this is what stresses people out about these fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, man. So I think really the seed is the bottom seed. My brother would probably have to score even if he loses, he would have to score maybe 70 points or something, and somebody else scores 150,
right?
And he gets jumped on points, which could be me as well too. But I'm on some winning in type stuff. Mel. Here's what. Let's look at the matchup before we get out because we're going to do a half-hour show. This week and come back on Thursday. So we're going to look over my matchup. So I have Tua going up against Tua against Mahomes. Mahomes hasn't done much.
That's right.
But the main point I want to make about my whole lineup is look at who I'm going up against: Buffalo, San Fran, the Jets, Cleveland, the Jets, Buffalo, New England, Buffalo, Tennessee. Every matchup I have is the hardest matchup in football. I'm trying to make the playoffs, and I'm going up against some of the absolute toughest defenses out there, man. The only thing I can hope for is Josh Allen has a good day, and Patrick Mahomes has to match him. I need something from Mahomes, man. If Mahomes would have gave me anything, even last week, I would have at least been high score. That would have helped me too. So Mahomes and Tua, this is a toss up. Tua, got to hope that Tennessee could be without Henry, so they could be on the field a little bit longer. Tajee Spears too for fantasy pickup wise. If you have Spears out there in your league, go ahead and pick him up with Henry in concussion protocol. St. Brown, there's no telling what he can do, man. He can light it up. Then I got DK going back up against San Fran. Only thing I can hope for is that, just like with Dallas last week, is that they're going to be on the field. So that can help me with DK and get some numbers. Scary Terry, he didn't get a catch last week, but I still don't want to go up against him. He's on the bye this week.
He's on a bye, so you don't have to worry about. Yeah, that's
just huge.
Yeah.
Nico Collins with Tank Dell going down. I like that matchup there. But he'll be going up against Sauce Gardner the whole time. So still makes for a tough sledding. Only thing that helps me there is Jets don't have a really good defense. So hopefully Houston's on the field a lot. Singletary, I may have to drop him. Didn't really look that good this week. And ETN against Cleveland. What could help me here is that with Beathard, who may be starting at quarterback, he probably going to do a lot of dump offs to the running back. A lot of those backup quarterbacks will dump it off. So we're going up against a Cleveland defense. Like, it could be raining in Cleveland, nasty. Need Kelsey to go off against Buffalo. And then I'm not sure, man. I may bring Pickens back in, but I'm struggling on my flex here, man. So
it is tough because New England played so well, but they are at home. But they played so well, and the up in the air thing about Pickett is Pickett going to play because he had an ankle injury that he suffered. He went down in that game against Arizona. So that could affect him if you look at the projections. Let's see what it says.
Oh, you said Kenny Pickett. Oh, I thought you said Pickens.
Pickett. Yes, Pickett. No, the quarterback. So whoever's throwing the ball,
right.
What's his nuts in there throwing the ball to
Mitchell.
him?
Mitchell
Trubisky. Yeah. So that could be a big difference. I mean, look at the players that went out on Sunday. Tank Dell, Stevenson, Ramondre Stevenson. We talked about him. Brian Robinson went out. Amari Cooper went out with a concussion. Christian Watson went out. DeAndre Swift, which we don't know if he's going to play or not. He got, again, shouldn't have been in the freaking game. And him and Hurts both. That's on Sirianni. You want to talk about what's on Sirianni. Leaving two of our best players out there 42-19 with 3 minutes left to go in the game. But anyway, so DeAndre Swift is up in the air. Marquise Brown up in the air with the heel injury. Kenny Pickett, Derek Carr, Trevor Lawrence goes out last night against Cincinnati. If you were a fantasy player last night, man, we've seen injuries like none other this season, and it's really upset the apple cart for fantasy. I think that's why everybody's so close in the standings, is it's kind of leveled the playing field because everybody has been hit with a few major injuries on their fantasy teams. And this weekend was, the capper, for crying out loud. Unbelievable who's getting hurt. What are you going to do? It's unbelievable. But yeah, so it's going to affect, who plays who. Because looking at, who your brother has, you got Jefferson could be coming back.
And this is my problem. This is my number one problem with going up against Mel this week, is that Justin Jefferson may have his first game back. I don't think he'll come back. He's kind of iffy because he's like, man, I'm not risking it. They don't even know who's going to be the starting quarterback. But if he does, it'll be perfect to come right in for McLaurin. So, yeah, man, I have to win them in. And that's really all it is, man. Got to win in.
Yep.
Look at your matchup real quick before we get up out of here.
Yeah, I looked at it a little bit today. Wasn't too bad.
Where am I at here?
League,
okay.
there you go.
Boop.
Going up against 14. Gustavo, week 14. There I am, down next to Marine Raiders. Going up against Marine Raiders, your bro right now. So he's got Prescott against the Eagles and Lamb. So basically, I'm toast. That's going to be just as bad as when they went up against Seattle. If the Eagles don't do anything defensively and cause that. I'd love to say that the Eagles could force some interceptions. They haven't had I don't remember the last time they had a turnover. For crying out loud. Except for it was against Josh Allen. They had the one pick, but it's been few and far between.
Yes.
We have not had the turnovers that we've had in previous years.
Yes,
for our defense, and that goes back to the coordinator and how he's putting these players in. So yeah, I'm going to get hurt with Prescott and Lamb. That's going to be really hard for me to win. I got Herbert going up against Denver. Luckily, it's at home. I got Ayuk against Seattle, which isn't too bad. Sutton, I put in as a to replace Tank Dell, going up against the Chargers. Sutton's been coming on lately, so I'm hoping that he can get a score. McCaffrey, of course, against Seattle. They're always Ayuk and McCaffrey's always big for me. And luckily, I've got the Detroit running back that actually gets most of the carries. Gibbs has had a phenomenal year, but when Montgomery's healthy, he's looked good. Laporta's, I think that 10 is underestimate. Now the those Lions, is they're playing at Chicago, and it depends on the weather. What is the weather forecast for that? Is it going to be bitterly cold? Because I hate when they have to play 31 degrees.
Rain and snow.
Yeah,
high of 38, the low of 31.
That
77 chance of precipitation.
Yeah. Got Olave as a flex, but it looks like it'll probably be famous Jameis. It'll be throwing to him. I can't even say I'll put Swift in the lineup because I pulled Swift for Olave at the last minute, and it helped me. I lost, but Swift had next to nothing, and Olave had a touchdown and around 70 yards or so. I might get Aaron Jones back so he could go in the flex. Probably won't play two tight ends, so I don't see myself playing Hawkinson and Laporta. But who knows? I mean, if I think Hawkinson can get me points against Las Vegas, then I might throw him in there at the flex. I don't know. They're right even.
Yeah, I would go Olave here and sit Sutton. And ain't no way. If I had the tight ends you have, I'm going back. I would start them every week. I would start Hawkinson and Laporta every week because they're like, they've been money, man. I mean, look at
Laporta has been outstanding. The last 2 weeks for Laporta, the 17 and the 29 have been outstanding. And then he had 19. He's really been solid for me. It's been hard because of having two of them and going with Hawkinson. And then, of course, the injury to Cousins made a big difference. So you had to, to adjust to that. And, we'll see how Dobbs does. I think they're coming off a bye, so that'll be interesting to see how they play against Las Vegas. I might start him. I don't know. I mean, it couldn't hurt. I've got, he's got Lockett, of course, so he's going to get the benefit next week of Lockett against the Eagles. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs, which would be interesting to see the Gibbs versus Montgomery, who gets the most fantasy yards. That'll be fun. Yeah. Eckler will probably have a bounce back game. So, and then he's got Dalton Kincaid back in the lineup, Moss. So, yeah, the projection probably fairly close to spot on 138, 134, but I think the underestimating of Dak, I think Dak could easily be over 40 points. And I think CD could be in the 20s. So I think that they're not taking that into consideration. So I'm probably, in my mind, I'm about 15 points below and that I'm going to need for players to make up. But we'll see.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a hell of a week, man. We got a few things to do. We're going to get up out of here. You got anything before we get up out of here, Lee? Any closing thoughts?
No. Yeah, no, things are going good. I mean, like I said, we'll focus on the Eagles on Sunday and deal with it tonight. Watching the Red Wings because Patrick Kane is in town, newly signed. So I'm excited. The Red Wings have been the doormats of the NHL for a while since they won their last Stanley Cup. They've kind of dismantled the team. So this is like the first year in about 7 years where they've been contenders. So it's exciting to see them starting to resurge. Under Steve Eisman, the former captain, who's now the GM. So they've been building a solid team. So hopefully they keep winning. They're the only team to beat the number 1 seed Boston Bruins twice this year.
I know if Boston set a record last year. I remember watching them lose to the 8th seed. I actually watched that game. So I don't watch hockey, but it was
it was unbelievable.
I remember all the hype about them all year. They did unprecedented things as a team. And lost in Boston in overtime too. I think I remember watching. It was amazing. Crazy so that no matter what the sport is, it can get crazy. Wish me luck out there.
Yeah,
in fantasy world, I need it. Great. Lee does not even need it. He's in, but nah, man. Crazy year so far, man. We'll be back Thursday though. We'll be back Thursday to get you ready. For this crazy week, probably one of the most important weeks of the season, man. Man. Thanks for everybody for stopping by to the Fantasy Waiver Wire. We're gonna get up out of here. With that said, we are gone.
Later.